Hello, and welcome to a short tutorial on how to sew on snaps.
So now it's time for me to sew on my snaps. A few things to note about snaps before starting to sew with them. Number one, they only go together a certain way. So you have to sew them on so that the right sides are out. So it goes together like so, the innie going in the outie. So that works. If I sew them on like this, it won't go together. If I sew them on like this, it won't go together. This is the only way that works. Okay? So that they go together correctly. Second, the big needles are too big to fit through the holes.
I have recently purchased some bigger snaps, so you may actually be able to fit the bigger needle through. I recommend you test it, though, to make sure before you actually start sewing.
So you have to use the littler needles when you are sewing on your snaps. See? So on my drawing, I have two snaps right here in the little shoulder area. Okay, so I've got to sew from my negative, which remember this is a pretty bad drawing, from my negative around to the shoulder and over the edge. And then I'm going to sew the positives from number 1 down and over the edge. So let's start with the negative side. It's going to be a little bit harder. So making sure that I don't sew my two pieces of fabric together, I'm going to connect to the negative. And I'm going to sew twice over that edge, over that terminal, so that I have a really nice connection to that negative terminal, because this is what's going to allow me to provide power to my accessories. All right, and then I'm going to sew this way. I'm going to stay really clear of my positive terminal because I don't want anything to accidentally connect there, because that would be a short and then things won't work right. So I'm swinging as wide as I can around positive terminal. And actually, before I go any further, I'm going to make sure, yeah, very clear. So this is my positive terminal, very clear of that. I won't actually interfere with that at all, so I shouldn't have any issues there. All right, now I'm ready to go over the edge. I'm going to line up my pieces pretty well. Okay. Then to go over the edge, I'm actually just going to just go over the edge and poke through both layers of fabric. And then I'm going to go back through both layers of fabric. So really that's a good location
for the first snap. Each of the holes in the snap should be sewn down twice. By sewing over the edge twice. Then you can go on to the next hole and sew that one twice. You can start from inside the hole to outside or outside to inside. Either way works. But you want to sew each one twice so that it's secure and so that when people are snapping and unsnapping your toy, the snaps don't just come off. Also, it makes a good connection. Remember, these are our wires. This becomes a switch, so it needs to have a good connection with the wire or the conductive thread in this case. So I sewed the first two down twice, and then I'll sew the last two down twice. When I'm finished sewing each of the holes twice, then I tie off. Before I start sewing the second snap on, I'm going to consult my circuit diagram. Now, according to my diagram, I'm sewing from the 1 terminal on my microcontroller. Many of you, if you are using the snaps as a switch, are sewing to the negative terminal of your microcontroller. Just make sure that you consult your schematic before you start sewing. Regardless of what you're sewing to, the negative terminal or a number, you want to sew at least 3 stitches into the terminal to make a good connection and secure that terminal to the fabric. Continue consulting your schematic to make sure you know where you're sewing to, and then sew on the other part of your snap after confirming that you have it set in the right direction. So I'm ready to sew on my next snap. I take the snap and I actually put it into the first one because that's where the connection is going, that's how the connection will be made. And then I sew it on so that I'm making sure it's in the right direction. Again, I sew each hole at least twice before going on to the next hole. I sew all 4 holes twice and then I tie off. If your schematic shows that you connect your snap to something else, perhaps the negative ends of your LEDs, then you could actually sew right directly to them instead of tying off. It just depends on your schematic. So again, check your schematic. Thanks for watching.